Thank you. We'll still wait just a couple minutes here while some people trickle in. But in the meantime, I'll introduce myself. My name is Allison. I'm the Customer Success Manager. I'm your girl for all things Sherpa. Any questions you have, from billing to technical help to best practices to anything. And so I'll do this session. I've been doing it weekly for the past couple weeks. But we have just a few people joining us every week, so we're going to start doing this bi-weekly instead. And if you need some answers during that time between webinars, you can always contact me either through the support channel or email. If it really requires it, we can jump on a Zoom call, but normally we just offer email support because we do also have other calls scheduled through the day. So we've got busy schedules, but we always try to get back to you within a matter of minutes when you send us an email. Still see some people trickling in. So in the meantime, I will also just say, I say this at the beginning of each one, our support channels, you can always find them in your Sherpa account, and then go to support. And you have your knowledge base here. You can send us an email. You can write in the private Facebook group. You can go to our YouTube channel. Any of these things here will help you get your questions answered. So we respond to email and in Facebook very, very quickly. If you've been part of the Facebook group for a little while, you'll notice that we did recently just switch to approving posts, and that's just to make sure the group is as helpful as possible for everyone. It's not to discourage anyone from posting. It's just to make sure everybody's following the rules. So there's some users who post in there with really specific issues that they're having with their account that nobody else is seeing. And so we just want that to be a helpful resource for everyone. And so if there's issues that somebody's having or something like that, we ask that you send it to the email address here if it's a specific question to your account. But still, please, please, please do post in the Facebook group with advice, with looking for advice from other users, everything that you would have posted about before. We're just trying to keep it a little clean and so that it's easy to follow for everyone, for our new users coming on, for it to be as helpful as possible. So I think that we've got enough people on here. It's been about 5 minutes from the start, so we can go ahead and get started. So the way that we'll do this, you can either unmute yourself. I'm happy however you want to do it. You can unmute yourself, or you can send a question in the Zoom chat box if you'd like. So if anybody has any questions, go ahead and put them out there. Okay, we already have one from Corey. So he says, what is a market manager? This is something only on my account. You won't see that, so don't worry if you don't see it. It's a way that we keep track of our markets basically, but it's nothing that any users have. It's just what the staff has on their account. So if you don't have that, don't worry. You might see some other things when I'm clicking through campaigns and things like that that you don't have, and that's just because I'm a staff member instead of just a regular user. So if there is something you really think you should have, you can let me know, but you shouldn't be missing anything that you should have. Anybody else? Any other questions? Feel free to unmute yourself or in the chat box. If not, I do have things that I can I always have a list of backup topics that I can start rolling through, and then if that sparks any questions for anyone, you can go ahead and ask them. No questions. Any updates from Revas? Are they getting better? I really need to outsource Sherpa, haha, from Chris. So we did in the beginning, so we've only had Revas as an option for people for about 2 months now. And so, yes, they are Sherpa specialized. They should know the ins and outs, but we do know that there were some VAs that weren't exactly executing their job as well as anyone would like. So if anybody here does have a Revas VA and you're not getting the deals that you should get, please let us know, because we will reach out to our contact there to tell them the issues that you're having, because apparently some of them are amazing, some of them are great. They're getting a ton of deals. One of our biggest users right now, actually, he has just really upgraded his account. He uses Revas only, and they're getting him lots and lots of deals. So if you do have Revas and it's not working out, please let us know, and we will contact them. But that being said, it does work. It should work. You can always try it. There's no long-term commitment. Try it for a month, and if you like it, great. And if not, then figure something else out. Yes, Revas is VAs. So it is, you can search in the Facebook group. Let me just move this out of the way. Go here, search Revas, and you can find the link here and many things that we've posted it on. But, whoops, doesn't want to link over. It's just revas.us/Sherpa. And so it's done for you, virtual assistants that should know Sherpa, that do know how the system works. And now that they're a few months into it, I think that they really know any of the issues that they were having and have recognized everything. And so it should work. Like I said, no long-term commitment. Try it out. It's not that expensive. I can't remember the actual, here's the price point, but you can go to this link yourself. Just try it out, test it. If you like it, great. And if not, then just stop. It doesn't hurt to try. But we do definitely have users who are having great success with them. Let's see here. Okay, never heard of it. Cool. Okay, great. So yeah, just like I said, test it out. You can also search the Facebook group. You can post in the Facebook group. It's definitely been discussed before. And so when we're not approving posts for the Facebook group, it's because there's a discussion on it previously in the Facebook. However, for this, because there have been improvements recently, we can definitely approve that Facebook post for people to discuss and give some updates to see what their feedback is now, as opposed to when it was discussed in Facebook 2 months ago or so. So go ahead, post in the Facebook group, maybe start a conversation, see if anybody has any additional feedback, or just try it out and go for it. Any other questions? All right.
I have a question.
Yep, go right ahead.
How do, like if me and my partner are both using it, how would we both like log in? Is it possible to log in separately, or can the numbers come from him?
Yep, so when you're in your account settings, we have a long user list. We don't, because we've gone through a lot of users before, but you just add your user here. It's just the same account, add your user, their name, their email, their mobile if you want them to be able to have call and SMS relay, the role they should have, and then the status. And so when you don't want them to be active anymore, you make them inactive. For the role, if you want them to have access to most parts of it, make them a master admin. Staff has a lot more restrictions, but master admin can do pretty much everything that you can do. And they'll have their own login as well. As soon as you add them, they should receive an email to complete their password setup and all of that. And then they'll log in and it will look just like this. So I'm under Jason's account, but I am a user, so you see my name here. And then I just click through to see everything that he can see.
Now, can we use the system at the same time?
Yes, you can use it at the same time, but different campaigns. So you shouldn't work on the same campaign at the same time. Okay. But you can create a campaign. And even if you want to work on the same list, you can create 2 separate campaigns and just split the list in half. So I could have probate Alison Jokinen here, and then probate Jason Nickel here. And then we have our own assigned campaigns. That also just makes it a lot easier for tracking stats and things like that.
Yeah, because right now when I use it, like I'm doing a vacant list, it always goes to vacant, and I'll send out 100 texts, but it's all under the same campaign. It's not split up like how your screen is now.
Right. So but you can just create separate campaigns. So you can put vacant A and then vacant B, and you split the list before importing it. So the first 500 of them in A, and then the second 500 of them in B.
Okay. So I do that at the very beginning when importing.
Exactly. When you're setting up the campaign.
Okay.
You can have two people working on the same campaign, but not at the same time.
Gotcha.
But then when you're actually in, say, let's see if we can pull up a prospect here. And so here, Jason sent this one, but maybe the next one, it might say my name here because maybe I started working on that campaign. And so you can tell who sent the message if you're in the same campaign. Cool?
Yes.
Great. No problem at all. Any other questions from anyone? Let's mute everyone for now, and then you can unmute yourself when you have a question. All right, so since we don't have anybody asking a question right now, I can start just going through my list and see if it prompts anything for anyone. We did have some issues recently with some delays. So when you are working on a campaign, you've sent messages and your batch is not showing up, it just means that we have a high amount of users on at that time, and they will send eventually, typically no longer than an hour or so. So you can see here, stats may take up to an hour to refresh from the time a message is first sent. This delay is common when messages are sent during the peak sending hours of 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's a general kind of bracket of time because everybody's in different time zones. But if it's basically the middle of the day, and then so say I send 100 messages right now, it should be batch number 23 and it doesn't show up, no need to panic. It will eventually show up. It can take up to an hour. If it's taking a really, really long time, please do contact us and let us know. We can look into it to see if there's anything else going on. But typically, if it doesn't show up right away, it's just a bit of a delay. Because that happens during the middle of the day, it's not that big of an issue, but we have, just to let you rest easy, we've put a restriction in place just recently that if for whatever reason there is a very long delay, you cannot, or your message will not send after 8:30 p.m. And so some people, we did have one issue a month or so ago where everybody's messages were delayed for a long time, or about 2 users actually had some messages sent late at night. And so we've added that restriction in place so that doesn't happen again. So if your messages don't send by 8:30 p.m., they won't send until 8:30 the next morning. But really this delay doesn't happen that late, and it's just during peak hours. That's just to make sure that you're not messaging people at crazy times in the night. Greg asks, has the phone number forwarding for phone calls been solved? So there is not. I'm wondering if you're touching on a small bug that we have. So, and I actually had it on my list to discuss anyway. So for the call forwarding, when you're setting up a campaign, always set up your call forwarding number when you're creating a campaign. If you set up your campaign, don't put the call forwarding number, and then import your prospects, then they're going to stick to that master call forwarding number that you have for the whole market. Even if later you go into the campaign settings and put a new call forwarding number, they're going to be stuck to those previous settings. So, like the text will come from your Sherpa number, but not a phone call. That's not anything to be solved. That's to keep us compliant. So for the call and SMS relay, I think you're talking about. If you're not, feel free to unmute yourself. But for call and SMS relay, we put it here just now as SMS relay, but it's still call and SMS relay. So when you have a hot prospect that you want to speak with from your personal cell phone, so you need to get up from your laptop, you need to go out, but you want to carry on the conversation, you can set up your call and SMS relay. Your text will appear as coming from the Sherpa phone number, and it will stay that way as long as you've set this up. However, if you call them, phone calls cannot be masked, and that's to stay compliant. It's still call and SMS relay, because if they call the Sherpa phone number, they're still going to see that Sherpa phone number. It's not, when it connects to your phone, it's not going to change for them. It's just for outgoing calls, they cannot be masked, and that's to stay compliant. So that's nothing to be resolved. It's just the way it has to be. Great. Okay, that answered your question. Any other questions in the meantime? Okay, so I will just go back to what I was touching on.
I'm sorry, I have a question.
Go ahead.
It's very quick and simple, actually.
No problem.
What is the difference between, let's say the system doesn't pick up something as auto dead.
Yep.
Because of the way that the person phrased their response.
Yes.
And I classify it myself as either dead or auto dead. What is the difference between the two? So if the system recognizes it itself, are you saying the difference between dead and auto dead? Correct. Like if I classify it myself because maybe for whatever reason the system didn't pick it up, which I understand happens, so I have to kind of manually do it. What is the difference between picking the option of dead and auto dead?
It's just the way that the filters are, because the system needs that one filter for the auto dead to be active, for it to be able to go to auto dead. That filter needs to be there, so it's in the list. So you can mark it as dead or auto dead or whatever you want.
Either way, that person won't get a message after that?
So for auto dead, it will not get a message. If you mark somebody as dead, let me see if it will automatically do it or not. Let's test. So going off of memory right now. So if we want to change this person, his name is Joseph Geist. Okay. So let's change him to dead. Okay, so it does automatically click the do not call. I couldn't remember if just auto dead did or dead did as well. So both of them will put them as do not call. So whatever one you choose, doesn't matter. They won't receive another message in the future. You can also take them off of the do not call list if you want to put them as dead for whatever reason, but maybe you want to contact them again down the line. You can always unclick that. So we don't want to put him on there. So yeah, both of them will ensure that person is not contacted again in the future. So really there's no difference. Auto dead is just the filter that the automatic ones will be sent to. And so for that to exist, it needs to be in this list here.
Got it. Thank you.
No problem at all. All right. I see my chat. Can you forward the SMS relay to a call rail number so that the call text can be routed as needed? You can set up the call and SMS relay with any number that you want, and it will just work as it would with a regular phone number or anything. So yes, it should work, because in call rail, yes, you can also receive SMS and everything too. So as long as you set it up properly, it should work fine. Most people, I think, just set it up with their regular phone number, but theoretically it should work because it all just works as the same texting calling system. And as long as you get the message when you set up the call and SMS relay, that should work fine for you, no problem. I'm having trouble pushing leads to Podio. Do I need Zapier to do that? So there is, when you're in our YouTube, you'll see, let me see. So there are two options. There is a push to CRM, and then there's a Zapier webhook video. Zapier is what we suggest for everyone, even if you have Podio and it has the CRM to app setup, whatever. Zapier pushes over more information, and it's just easier. It's free up to 5 zaps, and that just includes, 5 zaps as in 5 Zap setups, not using it 5 times. So you can click it indefinitely with 1 webhook, up to 5 webhooks for free. It's easy. It's the best. It's what we use. We have Podio and we still use Zapier. There is another video, push to leads to CRM, email to app. So if you can't get it to work for whatever reason, use Zapier. It's free. It's easy. But these are your 2 videos that you want to take a look at, and just make sure that you have all the settings as we do them in the videos. One thing that I will touch on that lots of people always ask us about is they create a follow-up campaign and then they can't push the prospect to their CRM. And that's because when you create a follow-up campaign, the settings don't all carry over. It automatically creates a campaign for you, but then you have to go back into the campaign settings. So this will automatically be generated for you because you click create follow-up campaign. Then you have to go into the actual settings and click the Zapier webhook. So right now we wouldn't be able to actually push over any prospects to our CRM because we haven't selected this. So if you're having an issue in a follow-up campaign or in any campaign, just go back and make sure that this is selected, because even if it's in your account settings, that doesn't mean it's active for all of your campaigns. Go into your campaign settings, select the webhook that you want, or if you want to do the Podio setup directly. Just make sure that your settings are right in all of your campaigns, and then it should work properly. You shouldn't really have any issues. Okay, excellent. If you don't have Zapier, it's free. Like I said, it's easy to get. It pushes over more information. We suggest it, but just make sure you follow all the steps in either of those. Make sure that this is all set up and you should be fine. All right. Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay, so the chat doesn't have any questions right now. Feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question. While I'm on this page, I will touch on something. You see here, it says 99%. It says there's 130 left, 21 left, 1 left, 3 left. But we go into it, and we don't have any. Oh, okay, this is a bad example. But there is a bug with the status. So let's see if, I don't know, this one. If not, I'll just stop looking for an example. So this one says we have 3 left to message, but there's no messages left to send. So this is an example of what I'm talking about. As long as there's no messages left to send here, your campaign is complete. For some reason, we have just this little bug that tells us there's still messages left to send, but there's not. And so just as long as you have no messages left to send, your campaign's complete. This isn't completely accurate. It's something that we have on our list to fix, but as we are still in public beta and we're always listening to all of your suggestions, we're always making lots of changes. We have a long list of things to take a look at. And so this is not top priority, however, it is on the list. So if you have a question about that, just realize it's not just your account. It is a small bug. As long as you've sent all of your messages, you are good to go. All right, still no other questions. Let's see here. Okay, another question that we get a lot is somebody has a conversation with somebody, with a prospect. The prospect has replied, so it's not like your messages aren't going through to them, but then you send them a quick reply message and you get a message back in bold red writing that says, message undeliverable. That is because you're using a quick reply, and all of the accounts that we set up have all the same quick replies loaded into them. So all you have to do is make a few changes to the template, save the template with your changes so that it's unique to you, and then resend the message and it should go through. It's just everybody's been using the same quick replies for a while now. Carriers are finding them and flagging them. And so when you get that message back that says message undeliverable in red letters, just make some changes to the text, resave the template, and then keep them fresh every now and then. Go back through all of your quick replies, even if it's ones that you came up with yourself, but you've been using them for a while. Just go make some edits, and it will keep your delivery rate high because it will be a new message that a carrier doesn't have its eye on yet. Let's see my chat. Yes, suggestions. Chris has a suggestion. Need to pass email data to Zapier. The email actually does not get pushed into Sherpa at all. So I don't believe, because we're just having the phone number pushed into Sherpa. However, I save this chat and I take any suggestions and any unanswered questions and add them to the list or do whatever I need to do with them. So I will take that suggestion in for, in general, email information to be imported to Sherpa, and then it could be pushed over to Zapier as well. So I will definitely add that to the list. Any other suggestions anyone has, just put them in the chat, put them in Facebook, send them to our email, whatever. We're always taking on suggestions because we're always making changes. How many total users are there now? So, I mean, we have users in pretty much every state. I don't actually have off the top of my head the total users, but we have actually just, so I was mentioning earlier all of the delays that we've been having lately. If it's affected you, it should be resolved. We've actually added a new server to the system so that we can handle the amount of users we have now. So going forward, we shouldn't really see so many delays if that's what your question is related to. We're growing and we have growing pains along the way, of course, but everything should be resolved going forward. So I don't actually know the number of total users because we have different kinds of users as well. We have just skip trace users, we have texting users, we have everything. So that is my answer for you. All right. Any other questions from anyone? Still have about 15 minutes here. So again, if you have a question, just unmute yourself, put it in the chat. I will see if I have anything. Okay, so someone actually asked me today, Chris, I see your question here, but I will get to it in just a second. So somebody asked me today their message template when they're going to send their message. Let's see if we have one here. The message template was not reflecting the template that they put together. So they put, I don't know, outgoing message number 1, and they chose that as their template that they wanted to send out. We have lots of templates, and you should have lots of templates to keep your delivery rate high as well and always cycle through them. But the message preview was not reflecting the message template that they put together. It was just reflecting just a very general, hi, I'd like to buy your property, are you interested message. That happens. Let me see if I actually have a better. Okay. So this is an actual template that we've put together, and we know that because it has the actual person's address in there, it has their name in there, so you can tell that we had, hi, first name, my name is Jenny, and I'm interested in purchasing property address, have you considered selling the property? But if this message doesn't show up, and it's just a very generic one with no first name that you wanted in there, with no property address that you wanted in there, that's because the information that's required for the merge tag that you're using is not in that prospect record. So maybe the CSV file that you imported doesn't have the first name, or it doesn't have the property address. So instead of it saying hi and then literally first name, it will auto-populate your alternate message. So you can see that here. When you're in a message template. So this is the template that we put together. There's this alternate message. Hello, I'm interested in purchasing a property you own and would like to have a quick chat when you're available. Very generic, very straightforward. That populates when you don't have your merge tag. So if you see something and you don't know why it's not the template that you created, that's why. And if it's just on that prospect, fine, because maybe one of your prospect records doesn't have the first name, and so you want that to come into play. But if every single one is like that, then that probably means your whole column in your CSV is missing. And what you can do, you're not at a dead end. You can export your CSV, but you need to do it this way so that it doesn't count against your monthly uploads if you re-upload it, you need to download your CSV from here. So your mobile CSV is the easiest one because you don't necessarily need to do all the landlines, but you can edit your mobile CSV and put the values that are missing, the column that's missing, and then re-upload it. And as long as it's this one that you've downloaded and you can make edits to that CSV, you can re-upload it and it won't count against your monthly uploads. It will just update the prospects that are already in the system. So if your whole file is missing first name, you can go in, you can make the edit, and then update it, and then your template should reflect as you need it, or whatever other issue, maybe you imported wrong, maybe you jumbled up the data and the wrong name was on the wrong address or whatever, you can always go in, edit this CSV, and then re-upload it for edits. Okay. Coming back afterwards to manually copy and pasting email into your CRM is lame. In fact, pushing all Sherpa skip data to Zapier would be awesome, like golden address, etc. Right. So this is going back to the suggestion of pushing more data over to Zapier. Right. We don't import all of the information into Sherpa. I don't know if we will really. I don't know the background costs of how much, because we have costs for everything. Every time you import something into Sherpa, we have a cost associated to that, and that's why charges are non-refundable. People ask, oh, I made a mistake, I need you to refund me for my uploads, whatever. We can't refund it because we've been charged, so we'd be taking a hit, and that business model obviously just does not work. So I don't know the background costs of everything, but I'll definitely add it to the suggestion list to be able to import more data. I don't know if we'll be able to import all of it, how much more expensive that would be, but we'll definitely take a look at it. And so everybody knows, if you're new, we are completely revamping the system. So not only the way processes work, we're redoing the follow-up process so you can follow up on cold leads, all of that kind of stuff, but actually also just the interface in general and the way everything looks and the way everything works will also be updated soon. We have somebody redesigning the whole system, which is very exciting. So then we'll have all the new videos and everything, so it's all easy for you to follow. It should still all be straightforward and easy anyway, but this is why we're taking on so many suggestions, because we're making so many changes to the system. So again, please always send your suggestions. We're very happy to have customer feedback. We want it to work for you the best as possible. So let's see. Any other questions? All right, we've got 10 more minutes here. I will just go through my list. We've had some people asking recently when they upload a skip trace for processing, and then they try to process it. It comes up with the estimate of how much it will be. They click yes, process, and then they get a message that says error declined. People come to us all the time and say, I don't know why this is saying error declined. Think about it, declined, it's your credit card declining. So nothing we can do about it, just update. If you have another credit card, you can always update your credit card that's on file in your account settings page. You just have to add it in here. We don't have a credit card in here because we're staff, but you can add or update your credit card information in your account settings page. And if your skip trace is declining, then just do that. Just update your credit card information, or if you only have the one business credit card, contact your bank, see why it's not going through. But error declined is always something to do with the credit card. We had a new user as well. I don't know if you're on here. I can't remember exactly who it was, who said, I'm a new user. I've been contacting people for, I don't know, years. And I have a list, one, of people I just don't want to contact because I have a DNC, but also a list of people who I already have conversations with, I'm in the middle of doing a deal with, or whatever. And so you don't want to contact them again. They're not necessarily your DNC, but you don't want to contact them through Sherpa. Just add them to your DNC list, because to Sherpa, it's all the same. It's somebody you don't want to contact. And you can add your DNC list here in your account settings page. And you can just add a whole CSV at a time, and they will all automatically be added to your DNC, even if they're on a brand new campaign. in a year from now, the system will recognize that they're on your DNC and their message will always be skipped. Let's see what else. We had also another user who, so this is your number manager. It's where you can see the health of all of your phone numbers. If they're in poor standing, you might want to release them, but we do always want to put on a warning before you release it. Just know once you release it, it's gone forever. If you contact somebody again that had the number assigned to them that you have released, you're going to look like you're coming from a new phone number. But also if somebody replies to that phone number that you release, it's in the black hole of nothingness. You won't receive the message. You'll be able to contact them again. You can message them again, follow up, but you'll be coming from a new phone number. So before you release a number, just know, caution, that number is going to be gone forever. However, if it's really poor, your messages aren't going to send from it anyway. And so you probably just want to release it to keep your deliverability high. So we suggest people have at least 20 phone numbers per market. That is the minimum, and that's what we set you up with. But to keep your numbers good and healthy, we suggest lots and lots of numbers. You can purchase them here. You just click new, and it will allow you to purchase, depending on what market you want, which is what area code you want, the amount of numbers you want. It does come at a cost. It is a one-time fee right away, and then it will be added to your monthly fee on the same billing date as your usual billing date. If you release phone numbers, that actually will bring down your monthly cost, and so then you can replace them with new phone numbers. So maybe you release 20 phone numbers, but you add 20 phone numbers. That won't change your monthly fee. You'll just pay that $40 that one time, but then your monthly fee will be the same. Anyways, so what I was saying here, I got a little off track while I was on this page. We had a new user who had only one template, first of all. They had their status in cooldown, and what that meant was their number was being flagged. Actually, all their numbers were being flagged, and the system will keep you from sending from that number for at least 24 hours because they're just about to be completely blocked. So we put you on cooldown. You can't use those numbers for at least 24 hours. But most people don't get to that point because as long as you're following best practices, you're not going to go into cooldown. You're not going to be flagged so much that happens. But the reason that this person was in cooldown, they only had one template and they were using it for thousands of messages, which just doesn't work. You have to have lots of templates. You have to rotate through them to avoid being caught by carriers, flagged by carriers. But they had one template, and the one template that they had said, "I'm interested in buying your property, please call me at," and then gave another phone number, which just it doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. It looks like spam because you're contacting somebody from one phone number but telling them to call you back at another phone number. It's confusing for the prospect. Just follow the guidelines. Make it easy. Make it simple. There's no reason for you to provide another phone number. Later down the line, you can do call and SMS relay or pass it on. But for first contact, whatever, just use your Sherpa numbers. Or else you're just sending messages from this number and then having them contact you back somewhere else. That's not even a Sherpa phone number. So don't do that. That's an example of something not to do. So 1, have lots of templates. 2, don't provide a different phone number to contact you back at. So that's what put them in cooldown. Extreme things like that will put you in cooldown, and then you can consider, I must be doing something wrong, that carriers are flagging me. And they had all 20 phone numbers in cooldown. But occasionally there might be one phone number that got flagged or whatever, and so that one phone number might be poor, and you can release it and then buy a new one or whatever you want to do. Going back to it's a question from Jason. Going back to creating a DNC list, how detailed does that spreadsheet have to be? Same format as uploading data for a campaign, or can it be simpler? It can just be a phone number. So if you have, whoops, let me see. I don't even think that there's a template on the page. No. So it can just be, actually it should just be one column with a phone number. It doesn't have to have names, doesn't have to have anything, just the phone number, so that the system will recognize that phone number, whether it has somebody else's name on it, whatever case that might be different with it, it will recognize that phone number as the DNC. Eric, can I use the lead Sherpa phone number to call back a seller? Can you explain a little on the relay feature? So I don't know if you have just joined us recently, because we did touch base on this a little bit. You cannot use a lead Sherpa phone number to call somebody. It won't be masked. When you set up the call and SMS relay, I mean, you can call the person, of course, because you then have their phone number in your phone, but it's going to look like it's coming from your actual cell phone number. Masking phone calls is not compliant, but texts will look like they're coming from the lead Sherpa phone number. And so you can handle that however you want. You can text them, and then you can say, I'm going to call you back from another number, or I'm going to have somebody else call you back, or whatever reason you want to come up with for having a separate texting phone number from a calling phone number, whether you want to say it's somebody else or whatever, you can handle that however you want, but calling will not be masked. I'm not going to go too much further into detail on the relay feature, because we did touch base on it already, and we only have a couple minutes left. So if anybody else has any other questions, please throw them out there. But Eric, I am recording this webinar, so you can go back and find where we spoke about that. And then if you still have questions about that, please feel free to just send me an email at support@leadsherpa.com if anything needs further clarification. And you can also watch the YouTube video. But please just go back to the recording. I'll send it later today, and then you can listen back in and see what we touched base on. Does anybody else have any other questions in our last couple of minutes here? You can unmute yourself or put it in the chat. All right. So 2 more minutes, and then that is done. So let's see if I had anything else to talk to you about. We haven't really touched base on skip trace today, so I'll just, for new users, those who have been with us for even a couple weeks now, know most of the details, I'm sure, about skip trace. However, I will just explain what a hit is. So if you're a new user, it's going to be 15 cents per hit. You will get back up to 3 phone numbers, and those are the 3 phone numbers that will be pushed into Sherpa for you. But then you get additional information like a birth date, a death date if they have one, relatives information, the golden address, which is the updated mailing address, an email address as well. I think actually up to 2 email addresses. And so whether you get back one piece of information, even if it's just one landline, or if you get back all of the phone numbers and the golden address and the relatives information, that all counts as one hit at 15 cents. If you don't get a hit on something, you will not be charged for it. So when you first upload for your skip trace, it will authorize your card for the maximum amount. So if you got 100% hit percentage, it will authorize your card for that amount. And then when it's done processing, the actual charge will go through on the amount of hits that you actually got back. If for whatever reason, maybe you mapped incorrectly or whatever, if you got 0 hits, the authorization will just fall off of your card. It does take a little bit longer because that depends on your bank, how long the authorization takes to come off of your card. But if you got 0 hits, it's just an authorization. It will come off of your card. You can re-upload the list again, remap, because you probably had an issue with mapping, and then get your actual data back that way. So that is what a hit is. And about the charges, if you want to skip trace an LLC, which lots of people do and lots of people have questions about, put the entire LLC name into the first name column. Leave the last name column blank. Don't split it up over the 2. It just complicates things. Just leave the last name column blank, put it in the first name column. If you have just a property address and not a mailing address, you still need both. You still need to put both in there. Just copy the property address and paste it into the mailing address. You can have the same address in both. That is all for the formatting for skip trace. think that is basically all that I had to talk about, and which is good because we're just out of time here. So going forward, we will do this webinar every other week. So I won't be here next Tuesday, but the one after. If you have any questions in the meantime, please send your question to support@leadsherpa.com. And if not, I will see you at the next one. Thanks for joining me, everyone.